All right, Josh. Here's a little non-duality technique for those who are authentically following this practice and realize like it's not so easy to allow this fusion of, you can say, our human self with our non-dual absolute self. You're intuitively in touch. Like, is it really actual, or am I just imagining? Am I just talking the Advaita talk? Like, yeah, everything's one. You're actually a true sadhaka, I can say. So, what's a good technique for that? And the technique is for the human construct self. You can't just imagine that doesn't exist. This is the whole game in creation, where like if I take a rock and hit myself on the head right now, this human self's pretty real. So we can't just non-dual it away. And that's the whole purpose, is this human self gets merged with this, you can say, non-dual true pure consciousness self. Whatever words you want to use, it's not important. But you can feel there's a play of separation and division. There's like the human dynamic self doing all its stuff, and then there's this space, this presence, this consciousness in which this human self is playing in. It's like being housed in this greater space. So that space is clearly the non-dual space. We want that realization of the, you can say, the non-dual space to be more in the forefront of our mind and activities and consciousness and everything, as opposed to the human construct being in the forefront. This is the whole purpose of a practice. The spiritual practice is to flip-flop that stuff. What's the technique? When your mind starts talking, and this is automatic, this happens automatic, so that part's true. This whole evolutionary process, yeah, it's happening automatically. At the same time, we're fully in it. We're fully, all these moments are spliced, right? There's no time, but they're all spliced up, and the human self is experiencing these moments like they're fresh and new. So we have to honor that. It's true, And yeah, at some point, as we, in our heart, really diligently want to wake up, then these things become automatic. But when somebody shares them now, this knowledge that's already inside you, it can activate more quick. You see, listening to, having a teacher or a guide, or listening to videos, or reading positive books, spending with positive company, that can vivify these spiritual samskaras and tendencies that you have in you. That's the whole point. This is what a real satsang is, So, at some point, you're going to see that these thoughts and feelings and emotions and desires and tendencies and everything, they're happening in front of you. Look at them as though they're like another person, like a separate entity or something, because they are, in a sense. And that creates more space. You see, that allows you to not get pulled into it. A lot of people, they have a thought, they just run with it. Thought says, look at that girl. Just look. There's no space, or whatever. Oh boy, they have a nice car. I want a nice car too. And then the feeling comes, you want to get a car, and then maybe you start taking action to get the car. There's no reflection. Like, wait a minute, like, is this coming from the core? Is this why I feel drawn to these things, or is it just some superfluous mind talk? You see, when there's more space, when your attention is more rooted in, you can say, the consciousness that you are, then everything starts to happen on the surface level of your consciousness. That's how it is anyway. Like, it's just we get duped into this identity role for a while of to where we feel like we're not conscious of consciousness, and so then the only thing we're conscious of are thoughts and feelings, etc. The consciousness is still there, it's just somehow we're not aware of it, but it's still there. And sometimes people are aware of it, but they don't pay much attention to it. They give attention again back into the whole game of life. So a real spiritual practice and a sadhana is, like I said, to reverse that. And when you start to see your mind and feelings and desires and everything as just look at it as a separate entity. It's like you're the consciousness, and these things they're like little entities running around and trying to get you to incarnate into them. The thoughts, the feelings, everything. They're cool, enjoy them. That's like the virtual reality equipment that we put on. It's not who we are. It's like when we drive our car, our automobile, our real car. The human body's a car too. But when we drive our real car, you don't mistake and think that's your car. Or anybody that's done acting and was in theater, when you put your costume on, you don't really think that's you. There's space. There's space between the car and the costume and you. This is the same thing. It's just this virtual reality equipment, the mind, the emotions, all that stuff, the physical body. These clothes are much more intimate. They're like glued to us, so we forget. And then everyone else believes that's who they are, and so then that conditioning makes it even more difficult. So this is why God created spiritual practices. And non-dual is a very direct way to cut through it for those who are ready. And of course, your lifestyle and your habits and your diet can make this easier if you feel intuitively motivated to look at those things and comb through your life and see what am I doing that's causing me too much stress. Because see, the stress can keep the consciousness asleep longer. We want a full spectrum, spiritual continuity, sane lifestyle. This is what we want. And then this practice becomes easier, and then we can start to see the space between our true self and our virtual reality equipment, mind, emotions, etc. That starts to become more actual. We're not just talking, yeah. No, we're actually living it. When you're really living it, you don't even, it's different. You don't go around telling everybody this, It's like a secret, because they won't understand anyway. You just keep this. It's like your own little private secret. I mean, you share with those who are ready, where there's space to hear it. But you know who's ready to hear this and who's not. You don't waste it. You don't cast pearls to swine. Have a good day.